Councilmember Hulse.
Here.
Councilmember Currat. Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Wilden.
Here.
Vice Mayor Naren.
Here.
Mayor Alinsky.
Here, thanks. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Council members, anything to report this evening? No? No? All right, Mr. Corbin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple updates today. This month's art exhibit, as you can see around the chamber, is Trees and Beyond by Carol Carbine, and it'll be on display at the chambers here. Viewing times are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Access to the exhibit is through the city clerk's office, 824 North Main Street. An artist reception will be held on Friday, October 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. here.
Great.
The City of Cottonwood is seeking applicants to fill 2 seats on its Board of Adjustment, each for a full 3-year term, and 2 seats on its Historic Preservation Commission for 3-year terms. Those interested in serving the community are encouraged to consider applying. Board commission applications are available at the Human Resource Office located 821 North Main Street or by calling 928-340-2713 or online at www.cottonwoodaz.gov. The City of Cottonwood is seeking volunteers to serve on its Dark Sky Committee. The committee will help support and educate the community on dark sky requirements. Those interested in serving on the community are encouraged to consider applying. Board commission applications are available at the Human Resources Office or by calling 928-340-2713 or online at cottonwoodaz.gov. Letting the community know Cottonwood's airport, runway, and taxiway have reopened as of this morning. We thank you for your patience and cooperation while we worked on cleaning up the debris. Join us this Friday at 10 a.m. for our monthly Jail Trail Interpretive Hike. It's free to participate and no registration is required. Just meet at the Jail Trail Trailhead in Old Town next to Seeds Natural Fiber Clothing. Hikes will typically last 20 to 30 minutes and your guide will cover topics such as local history, ecology, and hydrology. And finally, Astronomy for Everyone, Size and Scale of the Universe will be held Tuesday, October 11th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Cottonwood Public Library. This exciting family program will be given by Kevin Manning, a retired astronomer. Kevin will also give a brief overview of what they can expect to see in the night sky should they choose to attend the Star Party on Thursday, October 13th from 8 to 10 p.m. at the Activity Park in Old Town. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action, and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. There's yellow forms in the back. If you'd like to address the council, please fill it out. We have Mr. Stephen Gardner. Are you still with us? Stephen Gardner? Okay, afraid he may have been here for the pre-meeting and might have got confused. So hopefully we'll see him at the next regular meeting. All right, I'll go ahead and close the floor, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the special work session of September 13th, 2022, and I'll motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. And up next is consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence. Just one item this evening. It's a request for waiver of Parks and Recreation Code Section 12.12.020, use of public parks and recreation facilities, B, camping in parks and recreational facilities for the Cottonwood Family Campout scheduled for November 5th and 6th, 2022. Any council member of the public like this item to be pulled? If not, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's approved. Camp away. It's going to be fun. Yep. And next is new business. Following items are for council discussion, consideration, possible legal action. First up is consideration of the purchase of a new E1 pumper truck from H&E Equipment Services through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. Good evening, Battalion Chief.
Pardon?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, city staff. The Cottonwood Fire Department's really been blessed over the last several years. In 2018, we were able to get a brand new engine. Last year, the city council got us a brand new ladder truck, 100%, paid 100% cash for it in a lease. Currently, we're working on equipment, trying to get the equipment ordered and everything. And this year, again, we're getting blessed to purchase another fire truck. The fire department really appreciates what the council and the city of Cottonwood is doing for us. We started out originally putting a price tag in for $800,000 for the truck. In 2018, the price of the old truck was $500,996,000. When we got the bid from the dealer E1, they came back with a bid of $915,645, and it was like sticker shock, because we originally put in the budget of $800,000. They told us that all the price hikes are from labor and cost, price increases from their manufacturers and their dealers where they get their equipment from. So it was a 53% upgrade from the original truck that we bought back in 2018. And it was a sticker shock when we got that quote from them. And then we sat down with the apparatus committee, and we're trying to get a few more upgrades for safety concerns, with the health and safety of our personnel with the COVID. We're going to try to put something in there to help eliminate some of that, and then try to look for some new storage ideas. Because the truck that we currently have, we're cram-packing it full with everything. Some of the stuff that we're looking to get in are coffin boxes for both sides of the upper hose bed area, so we could take some of the stuff that we don't use very often and stick it up there. A couple medical cabinets that, instead of having windows in the side of the cab, put some medical cabinets in there. Either put EMS equipment or turnouts to help get the turnouts out of the cab. A hard hose bed cover. The one that we have is vinyl, and it just degrades over the time. And we're trying to find a different option. We have to have it per NFPA, and what we have isn't working, so we're going to try to increase that, and it's a little cost increase for that. And then this is the active air purifier system that we're trying to get to kill the germs, to improve our health and safety. E1 is not the only manufacturer that is having these price increase problems. Both Pierce and Rosenbauer are the other two quotes that we got. The Queen Creek truck that was just purchased from Pierce, it's a $980,000 truck. And then the Rosenbauer truck is $970,000, comparable to the truck that we're trying to purchase through E1. And why E1? Fleet continuity. You know, we already have one. We're getting ready to order one, and we'd like to order another engine. It's easier to keep the fleet the same brand, same manufacturer. That way, if something does break, we could take it right to their dealer and say, fix it, you know, get it repaired for us. And then the ins and outs of the trucks that we drive and operate every day, if it's the same, it's really beneficial to us. And then they have down here that allows easier applications to change oil and order parts, and it does. They have systems in place that they can just pull a program off the truck up, and it'll tell us what's wrong with it and when our services are due. Those are the reasons why we're trying to get the council to approve the upgrade, you know, from the $800,000 that we originally put in to the $938,000 that we're asking for now due to the price changes. They have had 7 price increases since 2018. Most of it was through the pandemic, and it's hard to get equipment, it's hard to get stuff made anymore, and they're increasing their prices because of that. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions for Battalion Chief Dawson, Council?
Mr. Mayor, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Chief, when is delivery? How long is it going to take them to build this?
With delivery on this truck, from when we sign the contract, it's 19 months for delivery on the engine. It used to be 12 months. It's just taken a long time to get equipment anymore. You know, their stuff to build the trucks. And so they've extended that out to 19 months. We're still on pace. Well, we were on pace with the ladder truck because it was originally 14 months, but now it's 18 months, I believe. And their new ones that they're putting in now is a 2-year contract before you get the truck. So,
Mr. Mayor, so the reason I wanted to point that out, that's a reason in your communique, there's not a request for a budget extension. We'll update the budget difference in the next budget cycle or when we do the mid-year adjustment. So we're very comfortable with this number, no concerns at all. But if you were wondering why we didn't ask for that, we'll cover it in the next budget.
Okay. All right. Any questions at all? No? Okay. I think you're getting the green light from us, sir.
and I'll speak for the fire department. We really appreciate the support that we get from the council and the city.
And we appreciate everything that you do on our behalf too, and on the citizens' behalf. And this is something we need. We've faced these price increases a lot last couple of years, and it just doesn't seem to get any easier. but we're, we understand. So thank you. Yes, please.
I move to approve the purchase of a new E1 pumper truck from H&E Equipment Services under the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. Thank you. For an amount not to exceed $938,046.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion from Councilmember Henry and a second from Councilmember Holst. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Halls.
Yes.
Councilmember Curott.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Naren.
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, great. Please sign that contract in the next 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, if it pleases and you want to consider opening the call to the public, the gentleman you called earlier did come back.
Mr. Gardner, welcome. So we passed you up, but you filled out a form here to speak to the council during call to the public, so we'll back up for a second here. And I'll let you know this portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion and or action. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that's not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and or action, and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. So we have your form. You wanted to speak about vehicle noise. Please come up and introduce yourself. You got 3 minutes to address us.
Hi, gang. I'm Stephen Garner. I live at Gray Fox Ridge.
I am a musician, well, and a magician, actually. I did magic shows for over 50 years back in Maryland. And I moved here, and I play regularly here in town. And, well, let's go back a few months, 6 months or so ago. I'm crossing the crosswalk. A guy in one of these speedster mobiles, about 19-year-old kid, decides to not stop for me, and he almost ran over my foot, and he told me, he said, I stop for no one. That's his exact words. And then I had another gentleman about a month later do the same thing, except he was an elderly gentleman and didn't see the crosswalk. And again, I was crossing and I almost got nailed there. And I also want to talk about abatement of noise. When I play on this street here, we have to stop playing because the motorcycles and cars, they're winding it up, high revving it for no reason really, except to be an annoyance. And I want to address you people with this and see what we can do about it, if anything. If I would love to see a few officers down here. I play at the Fogel Brothers quite often, and people coming down, what's the street coming down Willard and going up Willard just as fast as they can go. And it's just, I think somebody's going to get nailed if this continues. So I thought I would address that and see if anybody has done that so far or discussed the situation. But it's a bad situation. Somebody could invariably die from this.
Certainly, Mr. Garner, I appreciate you coming in and letting us know your concerns. We can't discuss with you right now because it's not on the agenda. But
No, I know it's not on the agenda.
Our manager's taking notes over there, so we appreciate your time. Okay, let's move on to item 2, which is ordinance number 722, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood for assessors parcel numbers 406-36-011, 406-37-242A, and a portion of 406-37-174 to change the present zoning designations of AR 43, agricultural residential, and R4, single family, multiple family manufactured home, to R3, multiple family residential. First reading. Evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Gary Davis with Community Development. I've got a short presentation on this item and the item after that, which is related, the resolution involving the general plan amendment. This is a zone change and general plan amendment application for about 1.2 acres located at the north end of 14th Street, just on the north side of the cemetery property. This map shows the current general plan land use designation. This site consists of 3 parcels. It is, for some reason, designated as part of the public and semi-public uses in the general plan, which is usually designated for public-owned property, parks, cemeteries like you see here, but it also included this parcel for some reason. And this map shows the surrounding zoning. The site itself is zoned AR 43, which is a 1-acre minimum lot size residential zone. The park, Riverfront Park, is AR 43 as well, and part of the park is GA, General Agriculture. The area to the south, including the cemetery, is zoned R4, which is a multifamily zone, which includes areas that had previously been developed with mobile homes and manufactured homes. The proposed change is to R3 rather than R4 because in the zoning ordinance there's specific language that the city shall not accept applications for more R4 zoning, just the R3, which has a similar density maximum as the R4, but doesn't allow the manufactured and mobile homes. So that's why the proposed change to R3 for these 3 lots. The 3 parcels I mentioned, the main one, the big triangular piece is 1 acre. That's zoned AR43 at the moment. A smaller piece that's owned by the same property owner is 1/10 of an acre. That's in the R4 area. And there's another portion of the area that we're looking at that's 1/10 of an acre. That's part of the city cemetery right now. This is an area that was encroached upon by a previous owner where they built a fence. And back in May, we discussed at a discussion item with the council the prospect of exchanging that portion of cemetery property for potential trail easement between 14th Street and the park, and we'll get into that pretty soon. So this can be affected by a minor land division, which would combine those 3 parcels into one and then divide them into 2 parcels. And the R3 zone is proposed, as I said, because we have a city policy not to create more R4 zone. Minimum lot size in that zone, 7,500 square feet. Both lots would be proposed to be more than that. So this is the property. There's the larger 1 acre piece, the triangular piece. The north boundary is the Cottonwood ditch, which is in blue. The smaller privately owned parcel is to the southwest, and here's the cemetery property to the south. These, as I mentioned, would be combined. Right now, we have a drainage easement across the middle of that property, taking drainage from the west side of 14th Street up to the ditch. So what's proposed is to create 2 lots after the minor land division, and where those 2 lots meet would be a 20-foot wide easement where a path could be installed someday to connect this neighborhood with the park. Right now, in order to get from this neighborhood to the park, which is just a matter of 100 feet or so, you have to go all the way down to Main Street, around to 10th Street, and back in. This might be a good amenity for the neighborhood to get a trail and a bridge across the ditch. Access would be public access to both parcels from 14th Street. 14th Street from Navajo Street north about 140 feet is dirt right now. We would require, if somebody comes in to put in multifamily duplexes, triplexes, whatever the zoning would allow, that would be required to be paved. And that's an issue that was brought up by a resident during the neighborhood meeting that the applicant held, and and in a written comment that we presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission, that they are concerned about additional traffic creating dust on this road. So additional units in here would trigger the need for a paved road. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. I don't have any more to add. I can answer questions, and the applicant is in attendance as well.
Okay. Mr. Davis, so the paving requirement would fall on the property owner or the developer of that property?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that would fall on whoever is proposing to buy one of these lots and develop it with more than a single-family house.
Okay. Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Davis on this? No? Okay. And the applicant is here. I believe it's Ms. Masters, is that correct? Do you have anything you'd like to present to council this evening? If you do, I'm afraid I have to ask you to come up to the podium and, yeah.
I just thought that this would be a really good way to get access over to the park, because I always wanted to be able to just pop over, and also bring that cemetery property to the property that I own, because I always thought it was mine anyway, because the way it was fenced, so it's like that was a shock. So I thought this would be a really good trade, and I thought, I'm also planning on selling it, so I thought, okay, nobody's going to buy it if it's got an easement right through it. So if I could divide the property, then someone could have this and someone could buy the other one. That would make a whole lot of sense, because nobody wants to have an access right through their property. So
Sure.
that's my thinking on it.
Sure. Well, great. I appreciate you being here this evening and working with our city staff on this issue. I know it's a real mess untangling a lot of these old town issues, and I know there was a surveyor back in the day that did apparently all of this. I think we should name a speed bump after him or something, you know? Right? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Yeah. Or a roundabout, maybe. So this is just the first reading. I think I'm sensing we're all thumbs up on this. So we'll bring it back for a second reading and move on, I think, to item 3, which is resolution number 3151, amending the city's general plan to change the land use designation for approximately 1.2 acres of land. Look, I forgot to have you read that. Thank you. Sorry. Let's have our clerk read ordinance number 722 by title only first.
Ordinance number 722, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, for certain parcels of land, specifically Yavapai County APNs 406-36011, 406-37-242A, and a portion of 406-37-174, so as to change the present zoning designations of AR 43 agricultural residential and R4 single-family, multiple-family manufactured home for those parcels to R3 multiple-family residential. Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Okay, resolution number 3151, amending the city's general plan to change the land use designation for approximately 1.2 acres of land located at the north end of 14th Street from PSP, public, semi-public, institutional, to HR, high-density residential.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned before, the PSP was put on this private property for reasons that have been lost to history, and a change would be necessary in order to go to a R3 zone as proposed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Questions, council? No? Okay. I'll go ahead and motion then to approve resolution number 3151.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion and Councilmember Wilden seconded it. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Hulse.
Yes.
Councilmember Curut.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Naren.
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, please read resolution number 3151 by title only.
Resolution number 3151, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving a minor amendment to the city's general plan, changing the land use designation for approximately 1.2 acres of land located at the north end of 14th Street, approximately 1,000 feet north of Main Street, from public, semi-public, institutional, PSP, to HR, high-density residential. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And next we have ordinance number 723, amending the zoning ordinance to allow for cluster subdivisions in certain agricultural residential zoning districts and providing definitions and standards thereof. This is the first reading. Evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tina Hayden, Community Development Planner. I have a short presentation of our proposal for a zoning ordinance amendment change to add cluster subdivision as an additional tool for developers. Some key points: lot size requirements of maximum and minimum square footage, control density, and residential zones. One of the main features of cluster development is that it also retains densities that are similar to conventional development. It also requires preservation of natural open space, allows for smaller lot sizes, and is advantageous for sites with physical constraints, such as steep hillsides and washes. Currently, the only tool for lot size flexibility is the planned area development zoning process, which is cost-intensive and time-intensive. So we have an example of a hypothetical 20-acre subdivision in the AR 43 zone. Currently, the minimum lot size requirement is 43,000 square feet. Let me see here. So this is the conventional subdivision here. And then for the cluster subdivision, our minimum lot size requirement would be 20,000 square feet. In the conventional subdivision, we have about 18 lots, 1 acre lots. 2 acres are used for infrastructure. I'd like to point your attention to the areas that are striped here. These are areas of steep slope. In the cluster development subdivision, these areas of steep slope are reserved for that natural open space. We also have 20 lots here because there is a reduced need for infrastructure due to the clustered area. And our requirement would be a 30% minimum of natural open space. With the cluster subdivision we have here, we have about 45% devoted to natural open space, and this could actually be reduced down to that 30% minimum, allowing for larger lot sizes. And that is the end of my presentation. I am ready for any questions.
Great. Do we have any questions? I appreciate the visuals. When Mr. Corbin and I reviewed the agenda, I was really trying to understand what the advantage would be to developers. And the visual helps my brain, at least, kind of understand it. Do we have any developments that you think would take advantage of this style of zoning?
Mr. Mayor, yes, we have, is it Spring Creek, I believe? We also have Westcott, which was formerly known as 89 and Vine, might actually benefit from this if they chose not to do the PID residential. There are some other, actually, I can show you here, if we can get the lights again. So we've got right here, this AR is 87. Right over here, we have AR 43 at 70 that would also benefit from that. And
Mr. Mayor, for reference, that last one she was pointing to, is that the other side of the airport? I believe it's owned by Mr. Grissetta right now up there.
that's correct.
Okay.
So,
And so then the open space, explain to me what happens to the open space. Is it open to the public? Is it just open to the homeowners in that development, or is it a combination of both?
Mr. Mayor, so first off, the open space gets reserved. It cannot be developed furthermore. I'm going to actually direct the rest of that question to Gary Davis, the senior planner.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Yes, the reserve natural open space would go either to a homeowners association or to a conservation group, some public entity, and it would be generally open to the public. It's possible, depending on the development, that it could be just open to residents in the area, but we have a definition of natural open space in the proposal that talks about what is allowed in a natural open space. It would include trails, it would include trailheads. Other than that, no improvements.
Okay. So then who would be responsible for maintaining that open space?
It would be the owner, whether it's a homeowners association or a conservancy group. Or I suppose it could be deeded to the city even as public open space if the city was agreed to take that on. But it would be the actual owner of that, the entity that actually owns that property.
Okay, so this would be on a case-by-case basis?
Yes.
Okay.
And who's to determine who owns it?
That would be done, Mr. Mayor, Council Member Wilden, at the platting stage. When the subdivision plat is set up, the language would be put in the plat as to what the uses are in that area, what the ownership is, what the access is in that area.
What if nobody wants it by chance?
Mr. Mayor, Gary, if I can interrupt Councilmember Walden, remember this land is owned by the developer. So, because it's traditionally a traditional subdivision, which is bad in some of these spots, or there is a planned area development where they would designate a homeowners association or some other group that would take care of it. But the land is owned by the developer. So it would be the developer's responsibility to come up with a plan to take care of the natural spaces. The city could be approached to see if it could be part of our system, but that's not a given at all. Really, the idea thing is for the HOA or the organization, the developer, to come up with a plan to maintain that open space. The key, though, is it can never be developed. It's not like they can't do this and then come back a year later and try to get a few more houses on the property. No, it's dedicated in perpetuity to natural open space.
Yeah, that's correct. And the reason for that is, of course, you can't squeeze more density on there than what's been planned for, what's been zoned. Once you do the calculation to how many lots you can get on there, which is very similar to what you would be able to get on there in a conventional subdivision, you're done. You would have open space that would be owned by an entity that would take care of it. I've seen this in other jurisdictions. In Washington State, for example, a lot of wetlands that you can't, that you have to protect, and you really don't want to put in lot area, so you set that aside as open space. But it works just as well with washes and steep slopes. The two areas that Tina was mentioning as a possibility, we haven't seen any applications for those areas yet. This is just kind of conjecture as to what might happen, what possibilities there are. If either one of those areas wanted to develop all or part of their lot, their parcel with a, rather than a PAD subdivision, just do a subdivision, but also be able to have some flexibility in reducing lot sizes and using less infrastructure. That's one point that Tina mentioned, is if you can cluster lots in a particular area, portion of a big property, you don't have to build as many miles of streets, as many miles of water lines. It just makes a little sense that way.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Mr. Matthews?
Oh, just to clarify, I mean, to give a picture, this is like any of the subdivisions we have, and even the subdivision I live in. There's washes through there, there's common areas, some are landscaped, some will just completely stay wild in their natural state. But those are owned by the developer. All that property, everything within that property is owned by the developer. The individual land, lots are obviously owned by the homeowners that purchase them. So when the developer is finished, basically all the common areas are turned over to the HOA. So all the homeowners in common own through the HOA and manage it that way. That's typical. That's going to be in 98% of cases, unless they are turned over to somebody who wants to. Like Cottonwood Ranch, same thing. The green areas that go through there, some trails, some not. But that's all HOA managed.
Okay. All right. Yeah, as long as there's some mechanism for making sure that the open space remains free of, encampments and whatever else kind of clutters out there. Because, the larger the space, I think the more difficult it'll be to track kind of what's happening, depending on the size of the overall project. But I think this is, again, another great example of how we're trying to be, proactive and support our development community with things that make sense in our community.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add, I'm only going to have a few more meetings to brag on this team in particular, but this is a team that, in my opinion, has taken your many directives, open space, natural resources, trails, but at the same time create opportunities for development that balance all the other needs. And this team in particular, Scott, Gary, and our new planner, have done a fabulous job of bringing stuff forward to council for approval. And I just been honored and privileged to work specifically with this group. And this is a good example of what you just mentioned.
Great. Okay, well, I think we want to bring it back for a second reading. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's have our clerk please read ordinance number 723 by title only.
Ordinance number 723, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending sections to add standards for optional cluster subdivisions in certain residential zones. Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next is item 5, request to close Main Street in Old Town between Pima Street and Cactus Street from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. on November 12th, 2022 for the Walkin' on Main event.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Jack Teal, your Parks and Recreation Director. Tonight I'm here for some housekeeping items on Walking on Main. As you know, this event has been going on in Old Town for over a decade now. As part of that, we close Old Town from Pima Street all the way down through Cactus Street. To do that, we need council's permission and blessing to do. So I'm here tonight to ask for that request again. One of the things I'd like to point out from prior years is this year we're trying to keep the parking lot, the gateway parking lot down by the jail trail, open to the public. We understand the parking issue in Old Town and trying to save that space to allow for general parking hopefully will help some of the congestion we see on that day. Now, I do want to let council know that we are trying. That is our goal. That is our main objective. But there is a possibility that we may still have to close that if we can't figure out the traffic flow issue. So working with Public Works, how do we get traffic to still detour through Cactus, but access that parking lot without creating any traffic issues? So working hard with our Public Works team to identify different solutions to that. But there is a possibility that we may have to continue to keep that gateway parking lot closed for this event. Our goal is to maintain it open for the public to use that day. So that way we only close that street really from Pima Street to Yavapai Street, and that's where our event will be. The event already is going really, really well. The planning stages are far along. We just opened up our car show registration, and within the 3 days, I've already got 40 registrations for that car show. So it shows you that this is a destination program with the city of Cottonwood and what it does for our community, and draws people in with the artist, with the wine garden there, with the car show there. So again, my request tonight is for that request to close Main Street from Pima to Cactus, and we'll do our absolute best to keep that parking lot open. But we may have to update you later along in the month if we have to keep that parking lot closed for the event. And that's all I have. I would open the floor to any questions if you guys had anything for me.
Questions?
One quick one. Do we still have access, or would residents still have, people attending, still have access to the dirt behind bocces?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Wilden, so Cactus Street is open. We use that as a thoroughfare, but we do limit parking to one side of the street. I want to say that we keep that area open for parking, but I would have to refer to our traffic control plan and what that counts, because we do keep, I believe, the east side closed for curbside parking, only allow resident parking on the west side of the road for the day.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Wilden, also part of that lot is private property. So we kind of work with the property owner when we have to do that. So I can't imagine we'll do a lot to that. But the property owner technically could do.
I got the
as
email
he
about
has
the
in the
car
past.
show. No drag racing.
I got a couple more years, like 15 for retirement, maybe towards that end there, sir.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, concerns? No? Okay, sounds good. So do you need a motion? Let's see here. Go right ahead, please.
I move to approve the proposed street closure of North Main Street in Old Town between Pima Street and Cactus Street from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. on November 12th, 2022 for the Walking on Main event.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Wilden made the motion, Councilmember Matthews seconded it. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Halls?
Yes.
Councilmember Curott?
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Naren?
Yes.
Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, very good, thanks. Okay, next up and last on the agenda for discussion is executive session, review of city attorney applications and finalist recommendations and direction to staff regarding logistics and next steps in the city attorney recruitment process pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03.A.1 and/or A.3. The council may vote to convene in executive session to receive legal advice and/or to discuss individual applicants and their applications, subject to the right of each applicant to require the council to discuss their application in a public meeting rather than in executive session.
Second.
So I haven't motioned to move in there yet, but I will. So we're going to move into executive session to discuss our city attorney applications. So this is the part of the meeting where we're going to kick everyone out. And we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week.